Hey everyone, I'm going to run through a basic sort of beginner Pilates class that I would teach someone who's new to Pilates, a new client of mine. So we're going to lie down on our backs. I have my foot bar in low position to a medium height. That's going to depend on your length. And I have all springs on. You could remove one or two of the springs. And lying down, feet on the wooden surface underneath the foot bar, shoulders not too snug against the shoulder pads, just kind of coming into a neutral position. I always spread my fingers on either side of me to make sure that I'm in the center of my mat. I kind of go through kind of a couple of tucking and arching positions through the pelvis just to make sure, again, that I'm in neutral pelvis. That's where the pubic bone and hip bones are level. And I squeeze the deep low abs and pelvic floor muscles to stabilize there. And then using my core muscles, I try to pick my feet up, land the heels on the foot bar, toes up to the sky, and I pretend that my feet are flat against the wall, magnetizing my ankle bones, my inner knees, and upper inner thighs together. Inhale, press out. Exhale, return. Inhale and exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I would normally do about 10 of these, but for sake of time, since I'm doing this in between my classes, lift your feet up and lower to arches. I'm only doing 6 repetitions because of that. Inhale to lengthen, getting all the way to straight. Exhale to bend. Again, magnetizing and zipping up the inseam of the legs. Last one, coming all the way in and picking the feet up, landing on the toes, heels in neutral position, meaning not super high, not super low, just sort of in between. Press out, pull in. Inhale, exhale. And return. Lifting up, opening into Pilates V. That means the toes are apart and they're on the bar. The heels are together and the knees are apart. And your knees need to be in line with your middle toes. So don't let your knees fall super wide when your toes are not super wide. And also don't let them be too close together. They just have that perfect sweet spot. Inhaling to lengthen. Exhaling, bending and covering your middle toes every time you bend in. And that sometimes is hard to do if your toes are spread too wide apart on the bar. It's hard to keep your heels glued together, and your knees will be in a different position than your toes when you bend each time if the feet are too wide. Last one, I might have done an extra one in there. And then we're going to lift the feet up, go back to parallel, toes on the bar, ankles high for releve heel lowers. Push out, drop the heels, stretching and reaching them under the bar, lift up, bend and come in. That's our pattern. Out and down, up and in. Lengthen out. Pretend you have an egg under your heels and you're gently pushing the egg down into sand. And lift and in. And the reason is I don't want you just to drop your heels and plop down. I see that a lot of times. I want you to control the flexion of your ankles. We're going to do one more. And up and in. Lift those legs up. Go wide on your heels. As wide as your foot bar, unless you have a really wide one like I do here. I don't put my heels way out. They're as wide as the machine, the frame of the machine. Inhale and exhale. Now, sometimes I'll notice that one heel pushes heavier than the other into the bar. And so what I do is I allow the one that's not taking the load to take the load for a couple of repetitions. And then I try to even
the weight distribution through my feet.
Doing a couple of extra repetitions because I really did feel uneven. And bring it all the way home. Drop those knees to the right, head to the left, and stretch. And breathe. And to the other side. And center. Bring those feet back to the center of the bar on the toes. Feet are going to be slightly apart so that you can get some motion in opposition here. So ankles high, push the carriage out, bend your left knee as you drop your right heel down and rise up to tippy toes, and then switch for running. Now classically this comes closer to the end of the workout, but this is what feels good to me today and what I often do with new clients to get some range of motion through their feet and ankles. And hold that right heel down and stretch. You can lengthen your left leg on top of the bar if you want to add to the stretch. And then switch feet. Drop the left heel, lengthen the right one out over top if you want, and breathe. And then bend and come in. We're going to come all the way up so that we can change to one red and one blue spring, or two red springs is a little bit heavier if you prefer and don't have shoulder issues. So then lie back down. Don't allow your hair to get caught in the shoulder pads or the headrest. And pick up your straps. So I always kind of measure, make sure they feel even by like maybe pressing down one time or two times just to double check. And then make sure you're also not impinged against the shoulder pads. Legs up in a chair position, squeezed tightly together. Press the arms down and lift them up. Abs holding your spine nice and still, your pelvis nice and still, and helping to hold your legs up. Inhaling in one direction, exhaling in the other. Last one. When you lift up, we open into circles. So circling those arms around as wide as feels safe to you. I have shoulder issues, so I can't go super wide. And because we're on the reformer using a closed chain system, the arms have to go at the same range of motion or the same distance. And at the top, we'll reverse, down, around, and up. Keeping those collarbones open, shoulder blades flat and wide on the mat. Abs drawn down to your spine. One more time all the way around. And then when the arms come up, you're going to press them down to the mat and bend and straighten your elbows. Open fingers. One more time. When those arms are straight, we're going to lift them up high, get the carriage into the bumper, and then rest the feet down. And then we're going to hang up the straps and come all the way off the machine to standing to place the long box on the mat. And then headrest is flat because our feet will be on there. And you could be on one blue spring, which is what I'm going to do for my weaker shoulder, one red spring, or a red and a blue, depending on how strong you're feeling. So I'm going light to get just some range of motion without straining my shoulder. And then scoop back, grab your handles, but scoop back so that your calves touch the box, and then sit tall and kind of wiggle around so that you make sure you feel even on your sitting bones, and then roll those shoulders up, back, and down. With long fingertips, press your hands down and back behind you, and then reach forward. Down and back, and reach. So what I want to see, I actually taught a new client this morning who every time her arms went backwards, she would arch her back, her chest would go forward. She would almost do a back bend. So we had to work on just having better body awareness and being able to keep the back nice and straight and still, keep the front ribs knit together while moving the arms. So I think for women especially, we tend to be more lordotic oftentimes, where we have a bigger arch in our low back or middle back and stick our chest and our tail out. And we want to kind of, what I'll do is put my hand on a client's back and say, press your belly muscles into my hand. I'm not asking them to round and contract, at least not on this exercise. I'm just asking them to flatten and straighten. So to sit tall and straight, or if someone says, stand up straight, doesn't mean you stick your chest out. It just means you lift your spine straight up to the sky. And I squeeze heavily at the back and release. Squeeze, but not just my arms. My abs are squeezing too, and my back muscles, of course. One more time. And release. And then we're going to cross the ropes, hold on a little higher, closer to the metal, and do a row. So you could choose to go high and wide. I can't do that right now, so I'm pulling down low. And what I'm focusing on is my elbows going backwards, my chest opens up, but really I'm focusing on squeezing my shoulder blades together. We call it crack the walnut. So pretend there's a walnut in between your shoulder blades and you squeeze tight and crack it to break it, and release and squeeze. But can you do this without moving your spine? So don't feel like you have to arch your back to get your arms behind you. That's a compensation. Just move those arms and shoulder blades. Two more. Last one. And reach forward. Keeping the ropes crossed, put your hands in the shorter loop if you have a double loop. Maybe walk your hips forward a little bit because we're going to curl backwards for bicep curls. So grow tall, inhale. When you go to curl backwards, you don't lead with your head, you lead with your tail. So I tuck my tail, push into my feet a little bit, and then curl back and stay. And then bicep curls, squeezing and releasing. If this weight is too light for you, lift your elbows higher and that will make it a little heavier. Long fingers so that I know you're not overusing your forearms and instead you're really focused on biceps. Scoop those abs to hold you steady. Don't be afraid to press into your feet. And of course, breathe. Last two. And one more. And reach. And then grow tall. Good. So we're going to keep the strap. The ropes are crossed still. I'm going to keep the one that's in my left hand, and I'm going to hang up the one that's in my right hand. So I'm cross-loaded. That strap on the right side of me is in my left hand, and I hold close to the metal. My other arm is hanging down by my side or on the hip. I'm going to, this is my tricky arm right now, I'm going to twist and pull my elbow back and then unwind. And twist and pull and return. So I'm leading with my eyes, not just my arm and my waist, to help me get a better turn towards the back of the room. I like to exhale when I twist. You are welcome to inhale if that works better for you. We're going to do one more and return. And then hang up this strap. Grab the one that's on the left side. Sorry, I have to fix the tape because it's bothering me. And then you're going to hold close to the metal, grow tall, and then pull and twist, gliding that right shoulder blade in towards my spine as I turn to the right. And I'm pulling with the rope that's on the left side, so I'm cross-loaded. Having my eyes look back as far as they can, because where your eyes go, your body will follow. And I'm staying tall and lifted. Remember, you never want to screw your spine down on itself. So when you're doing rotation exercises, you have to lengthen the spine. Last one. And release. Now keep the same strap that's on the left side and turn to the left. Turn your whole body to the left side of your mat. And then hopefully I can do this on a blue spring. We're going to do some external rotation for the shoulder. And you could also put a pillow under your elbow. I'm just going to put my right hand under my elbow and try to squish my hand into my body to maintain my elbow near my side. And then I've wrapped my fingers inside the long loop, my thumb over top, and I'm going to externally rotate, and I'm not going to be able to do it on this weight. So I'm going to go to one yellow spring, and even then I might need some help. So right hand is under me, or you could use a pillow, a cushion, and then I press. Actually, I can do this. The other option for me would be to put my right hand on the strap and help myself turn more, but I really want to make this arm do as much work as it can. And just go to where you can. If you feel like you need to move your arm away from your body to get that turn, to turn more, don't do it. You're compensating. You want to just get the elbow to rotate, or the shoulder, I mean, to rotate where it will, and then return it across. 3 more. Sitting nice and tall, chin level with the floor. And let's do one extra here because I need it. Oh. Excellent. And then right hand is going to hold the strap near the metal like a carrot top. So this is my carrot top. And then elbow comes to side. I'm going to put my left hand fingers under my right elbow to remind my elbow to stay in towards my hand, and then cross the midline. And this is probably too light for me on this arm and in this direction, this internal rotation of the shoulder, because we tend to be stronger this way. But I'm just going to keep it for sake of time so that I don't have to switch the spring back and forth. Exhale as you pull across for 3 and 2. Keeping the wrist straight. Last one. Good. Then we're going to do serape, so another rotation of the spine, hands holding the long strap. You can interlace your fingers or you can stack them. I'm doing a stacked position today. Twist to the left. Let your eyes lead you in both directions, actually. So turn left and right, looking over your shoulder in each direction. One more. And return. Now we're going to place the long strap on our left foot. Again, you could be on one red, one blue, or one yellow for this. You could also place the strap on your ankle. I'm going across the arch of my foot. There's some options here. Now my right heel is digging into the carriage, or I could hang it down. I tend to have a hard time moving the machine and externally pressing my leg out to the side if I'm not pushing into this foot. So I sit nice and tall, hands hanging down on either side of the box, and I press my straight leg away. And I don't know if you can tell, but my knee is, dare I say, locked straight, because I want to really focus on my outer hip not my knee. Exhale, press. Inhale, release. Keep going. I feel my core muscles helping me. And again, I probably could use a little bit more than this one yellow that I switched to earlier, but it's still working. One more time. And without using my hands, I'm going to slip my right foot in the shorter strap because I have a double loop. And then my left foot comes out, and I'm going to scooch to the left a little bit to give myself more range of motion. Now I open my leg wide, get this carriage into the bumper, and then pull on an exhale with a nice straight knee. If your knee is bent, you'll probably torque it. So be very careful and focus on your upper inner thigh. Sitting tall, lifting your ribs up and off of your pelvis. Let's do, this is probably, I think, 8, but I'm going to do a couple of extra because I really feel like I need this for the inner thigh. Plus, I'm on lightweight here. Lighter than I probably need. And release. Good. Hanging up my strap. We're going to turn the box to short box position. And then I'm going to one blue spring. You could do a blue and a yellow, one red, one blue like I'm doing. Have a seat, reach back for those handles, and sit tall. Hands by your hips, arms slightly bent, especially if they're long like mine. And then scoop those arms up to eye level and lower down. And reach and lower. Now I'm not going to eye level. I'm going to shoulder height because of my left shoulder. So if you can get to eye level, by all means do it. I want you to focus on your posture here. So just like I talked about earlier, posture is important, of course, but what we're doing here, yes, we're working our arms, our chest, our shoulders, our upper back. However, we're training our spine to be able to take load. So when our arms are in the air, held up without anything in them or held up with something in them, like grocery bags, dishes that we're going to put on a top shelf, a hairdryer to blow our hair dry, that load is transmitting down our arm, down our spine, into our low back and hips when we're seated, or into our hips, knees, and feet when we're standing. And what we don't want is to compress those joints because we have bad posture. What we do want is to be able to hold the load of what's in our arms by engaging our spinal muscles and staying tall and lifted. So that's what this exercise is training you to do. Now we're going to keep the arms up, and the load never goes away because we're keeping our arms up, opening and closing into hug the tree. So we have to resist that potential for slouching or compressing the low back and the hips by lifting tall through our spine. Use those spine extensor muscles to lift the bones of your back out of your pelvis. Last one, because this one's tough for me. And hands down. Now I'm going to attempt salute. I don't think I can do shave the head, but what you're going to do is bring your hands to the forehead. Straps are above your shoulders, and then press forward and up. Lean forward a little bit so that you don't fall backwards. And if you have good shoulders and you don't have the issue I'm dealing with, then I'm going to take my left hand down so you can see. You could put your hands behind your head and push from there. I just can't do that right now because of having a frozen shoulder. So press from the front of your forehead. The straps are just gliding along my face. One more. When my arms straighten, I lower them to the side and down. And then we hang up those. No, let's do breaststroke. Let's do swimming. It's good. Even though it's tired, it's good for my shoulders. So now I put my thumbs in these long straps. I push forward and swim the arms around. That's about all I can muster. That was 5. So I'm done with those. If you want to do more, by all means. I'm hanging up the straps, coming off to the left so that I can turn my box to the long box position again. And then we will do the internal and external rotation, serape, and the abduction and adduction. I'm going to stay on the blue because I think with my left arm internally rotating this time, I should be okay. All right, so have a seat facing the long edge of your mat. First, we're going to do external rotation with the right hand. You're going to put your back of your hand in the strap, thumb over top, bring your elbow to your side, and put your left hand underneath your right elbow to remind your elbow to stay into your side. Or if you need extra assistance, you can use your left hand on the rope to help you turn. What I do without having to change the spring to a lighter weight is I just scoot to the left a little bit. And I just go where my arm will go, keeping that elbow hugged into the body, looking straight out in front of me. I'm going to hang my legs down because the rope is rubbing on my legs because I have very long legs. Couple more. And release. And then my left hand is going to grab the strap close to the metal, making a carrot top with the rope or with the strap. And then right hand goes to my left side. My elbow goes against that hand. And then I internally rotate. This is actually hard for this shoulder too, but it's a lot easier than the external rotation. Two more. And last one. And release. Now we're going to either interlace the fingers or stack them in this strap, long loop, and we're going to twist. So I'm looking over my left shoulder, and now I'm going to twist to the right and look over the right shoulder. And left and right. Growing tall through the spine because we don't want to screw our spine down on itself. One more time to the left and to the right. Very good. We're going to place the right foot in the long loop. You could do foot or ankle, and I'm straightening that knee as straight as I can get it, and I'm pressing from my outer hip, sitting tall. Push the leg away. My left heel is digging into the carriage slightly with my toes lifted. If you don't need that for stabilization, you can hang your leg down. Remember to keep that spine tall and lifted. Pretend I'm pulling you up by the hairs on your head or by your ears if you don't have hair on the top of your head. One more time. And now I'm going to slip my left foot in the short loop. Right foot comes out. I'm going to scoot to the right a little bit, give myself some more range of motion, and pull with a straight knee towards the midline. Exhale as you pull, squeeze those abs. Squeeze the inner thighs. Couple more. Excellent. And then hang up the strap. So we're going to come off the machine, remove the box, and we're going to lie down and finish with our feet in straps and then some leg stretches. So I like to be on one red and one blue spring for this. And I like head rest up. And then grab your straps. Now, a beginner might not be able to pull their feet up and place the straps like butterfly loops over their feet. So if you can't do that, just put your one foot on the foot bar and push your legs to straight and get one foot up at a time. And then I wiggle around, make sure I'm in the center, and then I lengthen my legs up, but I want my feet slightly lower than the center of the ceiling so that my tailbone meets the mat and my pelvis is level. And then I'm going to keep my heels together, toes apart and toes pointed, and lower using my hamstrings and glutes, and lift using my hip flexors and abs. Lower and lift. Inhale and exhale. If you've heard me before, I talk about inhaling into the low back to help it anchor as your legs go down. Exhaling, squeezing your abs to help pick your legs up. When you inhale into your low back, it helps keep your abdominal muscles about 10 to 20% engaged so that you don't lose the stability of your core while your legs go down. Now you may notice also that I hyperextend my knees, so I have to work hard in my hamstrings to micro bend my knees to avoid hyperextension. That's where my knees pop backwards. I've got to really work extra hard, so my hamstrings burn pretty quickly on feet and straps. Now when I lift my legs up, we're going to open into circles. So I open as wide as my machine, lower down to whatever height works for me, connect at the bottom, and lift up. Open, circle down, connect at the bottom before I lift. Inhaling and exhaling. Squeeze those abdominal muscles, because what we don't want is the back to arch any deeper than the natural curve of the spine when the legs go down. And we don't want the spine to push into the mat and the tail to lift up when we lift the legs up. So your range of motion up and down is going to be determined by your ability to keep your pelvis really still and your low back really still. Well, let's reverse at the top. Inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to do one more all the way around, and then we're going to bend into frog. So I bend deeply and I aim my knees from my armpits, dot the outer edges of the machine, maybe just barely wider than the ropes. Keep the heels glued together, push to straight, squeezing the upper inner thighs, and then bend back, out and in. Shoulder blades are flat and wide on the mat, and I find that if I reach my arms down the mat and press my hands into the mat a little bit, I'm not pushing so heavily against the shoulder pads, which can be irritating to the shoulders. Working the inner thighs here. Inhaling into the low back as you straighten the legs. Exhaling as you bend. A few more. I love this one. It feels good, but it feels like it works my inner thighs, so I like it. Let's do one more. And bend in. Give yourself a little froggy stretch. And breathe. And then let's take the left foot out of the strap. Reach your left toes for the foot bar. Push your left leg to straight, and then straighten your right leg up to the sky. Hang up the left strap and gently pull on the right leg to get a hamstring stretch, and drop the left heel to get a calf stretch. One more big deep breath. And then we're going to cross the midline for an IT band stretch. Your IT band goes from your ilium bone or iliac bone down to your tibial bone. So it crosses over the knee, and every time you bend and straighten your knee, you're working that tendon. So be careful as you cross over because it can be really tight. You want to keep your footprint flat on the ceiling, pulling your pinky toe down towards your hip to get the best stretch. And you also want your knee straight. If you bend the knee, you're going to take away from the stretch. So if your hamstrings are really tight, you might feel like you have to bend your knee. And so if that's the case, you may have to lengthen your rope so your foot goes down lower, or put your foot bar up higher so that your leg goes down lower to get the knee straight and get into that IT band. Don't allow your pelvis to tilt off of the mat. Just cross the leg over the midline with a flat footprint on the ceiling. I can feel it without even holding on to the rope. And breathe. And then the last position on this leg is going to be to open your leg. Now, I have long legs, so I always feel like my pelvis is going with my leg. So what I do is bend my left knee that's against the foot bar on a turnout to be more in a straddle and a half position, to allow myself to get a good inner thigh stretch on this right leg. And I also feel hamstring as well. And then we're going to push this leg to straight. You can take your foot out. If you're more comfortable putting your other foot up in this other strap first, then by all means do that. I took my right foot out, putting my left foot up. My right toes are on the foot bar, and I'm going to drop my right heel to get a calf stretch and then a hamstring stretch on this side. I don't need to pull this rope much. This hamstring is way tighter than the other. I don't even really need to pull it at all to feel a stretch in the back of that leg. Breathe. Try to relax the head, neck, and shoulders, making sure you don't feel impinged against the shoulder pads. One more big deep breath. And then we're going to cross the midline. So to get that outer band on the outside of the leg. Oh, this one is tough for me. This leg is so much tighter. So my footprint is trying to stay flat on the ceiling. My pelvis is flat and level on the mat. And I cross the leg over. If it's not enough of a stretch, just pull on the rope and get the leg to go higher. It's just plenty of a stretch for me. Last position is for your inner thigh stretch. And you're going to open that leg to the left. If you want to bend your right knee on a turnout, you can. I try to keep my pelvis as level as I can. You can also support the weight of your leg with your hand if you need to, or the rope. Last big breath. And then push your right leg to straight. Grab that strap off of the foot. Bend and come all the way in. And we'll finish with a piriformis stretch. So you could do this seated. I'm going to do it lying down. I personally like to lengthen my left leg over the foot bar, and I just bend and turn out my right leg, flex the foot to protect the knee, and I just pull this leg up to my belly. Now you could do the normal version where you use your other leg, sometimes I just like it this way, where I'm just using my arms to pull up my leg. And I'm trying to get that outer hip, so I push my tailbone down as I bring that knee up towards me. And then we're going to lengthen the right leg or do the ankle across the right knee and flex your foot. On a turnout, pull that lower leg up towards your abdomen and stretch. And we're going to come to a seated position and do a little side stretch and twist to finish up. So once you are seated on your mat with your feet on the floor, if your machine is tall, you could put your feet on a block. Go ahead and raise your right arm up, side bend to the left and stretch. Make sure your spine is tall and lifted and straight. When you go to bend over, don't want your chin to drop or chin to lift. Just be in one straight line. Inhale, lift up. Left arm goes up as best you can, or as best I can. And bend and stretch. And lifting up. We're going to twist to the right. Grab whatever you can hold on to. Give yourself a twisted stretch. Looking back behind you. And then to the other side. And unwind. And we always finish by standing without pushing from our hands. So hands in prayer position. Inhale, rise up to standing. And you did it. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.